everyone, and welcome to It All Starts With a Wish podcast. My name is Rachel.
And I'm Mark.
And we're so happy to have you listening with us today.
Yes, we are.
What are you drinking in your Disney cup over there?
I had a New England classic called Coffee Milk.
Ooh.
A lot of people may not know what coffee milk is.
No, it's not.
Because it is a very hyper, local southern New England thing. But think of chocolate milk with chocolate syrup. But instead of chocolate syrup, it's coffee syrup.
Yeah.
And so it's basically milk just with coffee flavor, almost like coffee ice cream, kind of similar.
No, it's very yummy. And I appreciate your Disney mug. So today we're going to talk about a statement that a lot of people have told us, friends and family, and that is, we're only going to Disney once. And off the bat, I can think of one big reason why people would say that, and that's going to be money.
Doesn't it always boil down to money?
It always does, but
with everything in life,
unfortunately, you have to pay for it.
You do.
You have to pay for Disney.
And Walt Disney World can be a very expensive vacation for folks.
It can be.
And especially if you're taking a family,
a large group,
whoever it is, it adds up fast between hotel, airfare, transportation, however you're getting there. If you're driving in a car, gas nowadays, even
flights.
Super expensive. Flights. Airfare,
food when you get there, souvenirs,
park tickets. Yep. So many things to pay for.
Extra event tickets,
right? There are tons of things to spend money on. Disney, make no mistake, will love to take your money whenever possible.
And I love to give Mickey Mouse my money, but
it's true, but not everybody does.
I know. And it's a hard pill to swallow.
It is a hard pill to swallow.
For some people when they're if they're not Disney fans to begin with, I think, but they feel like they have to go, or they do want their kids to experience that once, and they're like, oh, I could be spending my money on something else.
There is a certain a group peer pressure, I think.
There is.
That a lot of parents feel that you have to take your child to Walt Disney World at least once during their child. You have to check that off of the list, that way you can
I feel even if they don't remember, if we did bring you, and we have the pictures to prove
right,
it.
it's like a thing for parents that oh, look, see, I did bring you, so you can never tell me that we didn't do special things for you. But part of, I think, this mentality is rooted in that idea that it's very expensive and that not everybody may enjoy a Disney vacation. But I think part of the problem with this way of thinking is that by saying that from the beginning, in planning, in the way that you're prepping for this trip, saying this is the one and only time that we're going to Walt Disney World, I think you are setting yourself up for failure. Whether, in fact, that is true or not,
It's an opinion.
Sure, but I wasn't so much saying that. I was saying more whether or not it's true that it is, in fact, the only time that you're going to go to Disney. By saying something like that, you put a tremendous amount of pressure on yourselves and on your vacation to go and do things. And I'm remembering a trip that we took a few years back with Rachel's family. It was the first time that Rachel's family had been back to Disney in a long time. The two of us had been quite a few times
I had been
together
with your family
and with my family.
A few times.
And we really wanted the trip to be special for them. We wanted to make sure Rachel's sister was getting older, could ride all the rides.
She was really little when the last time that she had gone. I'm talking 5 years old. So she had very, very minimal memories and more just snapshots of home videos and pictures, those kind of memories, but I don't think she actually remembered things. So yeah, I had a lot of pressure on myself.
I think. So I was really worried. Trip. You wanted everybody to have a good time, right? You wanted your parents to have a good time. You wanted your sister to have a good time.
I wanted them to love it as much as I do, and for them to see why I love it so much. So I think I needed everything to go right.
Right. And we were so obsessed with that and stressed about that like 2 days into the trip, I remember us walking from our hotel room to the cafeteria. We were staying at the Art of Animation Resort at that time, and we were walking, and we were both like, wow, we're not having a good time.
I'm not having fun. I actually forgotten about that time, but you brought it up.
Her family was having a great time.
They were having such a great time.
They were loving it. We were hitting everything right. We had fast passes at that point. We had planned everything perfectly. We had minimal wait times and lines. We had restaurants lined up. They were having a great time. But we were absolutely miserable.
Yeah.
Because we were so stressed.
And I was so mad that I was not enjoying it.
Yeah.
Because I was like, why? Like, they're having fun. So it was almost like, shouldn't you be happy? Like, they're having fun, it's fine. But I was like, I am happy they're having fun, but I'm still so worried that all of a sudden they're not going to like something. Right. Or if, like, the tables are going to turn.
Right.
Like, so for the whole trip, and then I got sick.
Mm-hmm.
You remember this?
Mm-hmm.
I got sick. Well, I think it was allergies, but I remember crying because I wanted to stay with them at the parks to watch the fireworks. We had this whole, again, planned out. I had it planned out. We were doing the fireworks. We were going to do that after and stay in the park after, so we didn't have to wait long for our bus. And we were going to show them all the cool, like, tips and tricks. And I really wasn't feeling good. And I just remember you being like, let's just go back. They're like, we'll stay. And I'm like, no. Like, I want to be a part of it. But I almost, like, ran myself into the ground, being stressed and just tired. And
it's really easy to do. You put too much pressure on yourself to make sure that everybody's having a good time, that you don't have a good time in the process. Yeah. And I did some research for this episode of the podcast today, as I do.
As you would.
As I would. Very Mark thing to do, doing research. And I pulled up some Walt Disney World Resort statistics. So I'm going to read some of these statistics to folks right now, and I just want you to listen, take them in. Okay. Walt Disney World Resort in Orlando, Florida is 43 square miles in size.
Wow.
For those of you who want a point of comparison,
yeah,
it's about the same size as the entire metropolitan area of San Francisco or 2 Manhattans. That's pretty big.
I mean, I've never been to either of those places, but I can imagine I've been outside of Manhattan, like in like the Bronx area, and even that's pretty big, and I can imagine double that, and that seems large when you're standing in it, so that's really big.
43 square miles is a huge chunk of land.
Wow.
36 resort hotels, 26 of which are owned by Walt Disney World.
Yeah.
Over 300 dining outlets. Over 300.
That's so much food.
So much food. 400 plus buses, 12 monorail trains, a fleet of boats, a fleet of minivans, whole bunch of options for transportation, 4 theme parks, 2 water parks, 3 18-hole golf courses.
I didn't know there was 3 of them.
3.
Wow.
2 mini golf courses, 150 shops and restaurants in just Disney Springs alone. 53 rides, 100 plus attractions. If you were to ride each ride, it would take you a total of 18 hours in a single day.
And that's with no wait time, back to back, riding each ride.
That's just going, man. So I want to pose a question to the group. Can you do
the group,
it all?
You mean me?
Yeah.
Everybody?
And everybody who's listening.
Oh, okay.
Do you think you can do that all on your vacation?
No.
Not even close.
No.
There's just
That's a very
too
quick
much.
answer. No.
I don't care if your vacation's 1 day long. I don't care if it's a week long. I don't care if it's 2 weeks long.
Yeah, or
even a month long.
Yeah.
There is no possible way that you are going to do everything that the Walt Disney World Resort in Orlando, Florida offers to you.
No.
I know that's a hard pill for folks to swallow.
Yeah, it is.
I know when you've spent $4,000 on a vacation, maybe even more, on a vacation that is a week long, you want to do and see everything that you possibly can. You want it to be as magical of an experience for everyone who is there with you, but you're never going to do it
It's funny because I think some people, and again, this isn't all, I feel like this is a select few, I think they almost see it as a challenge. Like, you cannot do this all. Like, want to bet? But no, like, you really can't. Like, it's nearly impossible.
Just the restaurants alone, 300 plus restaurant dining outlets in all of Walt Disney World. Now, granted, those are not all sit-down restaurants.
Right.
Dining outlets include things like
service.
quick service, counter service, your little stands and stuff like that. But if you were to eat at each one of those, you would literally
You don't
be
eat that
rolling
much in a
around.
day.
Do you remember Roly Poly, that show, with the Roly Poly? And they used to that's what you would look like. That's how you would move around the parks. Literally impossible.
To push you out. Roll you out.
Literally impossible. You just cannot do it all. And I think again and again, when you're in the park, sometimes you see this a lot. You see folks who are pushing their family to the very edge of breaking.
And it's not done purposefully either. Like, I really don't think people set out to, and I don't think that's not what we're saying. We're not saying, like, people set out to make it miserable, or
No,
they think,
definitely
like,
not.
we're just going to go, 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 go. And I think that they think, that makes
There's
sense.
a lot of thinking
There's
there.
so much thinking, but I think they believe it's the best way to do it. Or the best getting...
Or the only way to do it.
Or the only way.
perhaps.
Or, like, the best bang for your buck, like you were saying. Like, we need the most packed in there for the amount of money we're spending to make it worth it. So it's not done maliciously. It's done with really good intentions.
And you see the parents dragging little Johnny or Jill onto a ride, and you can tell it is nap time. It's 2:00. It's hot. It's humid. Nobody's having a great time in the family. You can see it on everybody's face. Everybody is ready for a break. But by gosh, by golly, it's not time for mistletoe and holly like the Christmas song.
No.
But by gosh, by golly, they are going to make these people ride this one last ride. And it usually always ends with a mental breakdown.
It's like, we're going to
They're
have fun.
screaming. The kids are screaming. Mom and dad are getting mad at the kids.
At each other.
I've
I've seen that quite a few times.
Tension is high. And folks, it's just not worth it. This is still a vacation.
Yep.
A vacation is meant to be a time, as Walt intended, which we talked about in the first episode, when families to come together and have a good time together.
That stress of the outside world should go away.
Right.
And, like, I think when you try so hard to make something good, or in this case, like, magical or memorable, you end up making it miserable. And you want to know something? I think of when I say that out loud? National Lampoon's Christmas Vacation. He wanted so badly just to have a good time, and he kind of forgot what is the whole point of that movie, right? Sorry if you haven't seen it. Spoiler, I don't know who hasn't seen that movie. But
If you haven't seen that movie, you're probably not going to watch it, so it's fine.
no, probably not. But the whole point is that he forgot what really mattered. It didn't matter about how many lights, the biggest tree, all this stuff. It doesn't matter how many rides you get on, the fancy dinners you have, how many photo ops you can get, how many characters you meet.
It's all about the eggnog, folks. It's all about the eggnog.
It is.
Isn't that the moral of the story?
No, Mark.
No, the little moose
No.
glasses with the eggnog.
Is it like Wally? What is it called? Wally World?
Wally
no,
World, yeah, which is a
It's
playoff
Walmart.
of Disney.
I know, but
People right, but when that's a different National Lampoon's movie.
What, with Walmart?
There's the family vacation one. No, with Wally
Oh,
World.
yeah, no, they go to the theme park
Wally
and it's
World.
closed. And then
Right.
again, I think there's a theme
There is a theme with
him.
those. They're trying to do too much.
And they put so much pressure on themselves. And
folks, learn from Chevy Chase and don't try to overdo it.
Sparky, learn from him. It's not all of the glitz and glamour or all of the photos you post or
Right.
all of that other stuff. You can have a great time hitting all the rides you want to, and you can have a great time hitting a few, going to the park some days, having pool days at the resort. Like, you can still have fun. Disney magic is everywhere when you're there. It doesn't exist just in the parks or just at special events. It's in the hotels, it's in the dining. We'll talk later about resort hopping. there's characters at the hotels sometimes. Like, you can have breakfast or dinners at the restaurants. Like, it's not just about the parks. But going back to, the first episode and the reason why, family. You're there because you love your family and you want to have a good time.
Mm-hmm. And don't burn yourself and everyone in your family out. And a huge pointer, I think, a huge piece of advice that can help to keep things manageable. Because let's be real, all of these stats I read, it's overwhelming. And I think that that's also part of the problem, is that people are just overwhelmed by the sheer size and potential for experiences there, that it overwhelms folks and people just feel like they need to do everything because they don't know where to start.
Or they like freeze and they have no idea what to do because they're like, I didn't know that was even a thing because I just was overwhelmed, so I just kind of showed up and I missed everything.
Right.
Because
and this is where planning comes in.
Yeah.
Something very important to keep things manageable, and if you're only going to go to Disney World once, to make sure that everyone in the family is going to have a good time and enjoy themselves and not get burned out, not get stressed. When you plan, dividing up the attractions that are in each park or each place that you're going, right? Sit down, determine how many days you're going for.
Yeah.
Figure out how many days you want to spend in each park and pick each day. Pick 5 things, just 5, that are must-do.
Right.
5 must-dos.
You don't want to, and we say like must do, it's like you do not want to leave Disney without doing those things.
You're a huge Star Wars fan. You know you have to go to Galaxy's Edge. You got to get the blue milk. You got to ride Rise of the Resistance. You got to
get your own
fight
lightsaber.
Kylo Ren. You got to get your lightsaber, and you got to drive the Millennium Falcon. You and Chewie in the co-pilot seats of the Millennium Falcon, flying that thing.
You have to meet all the characters. You want to meet all the characters. Like
those are your 5. I think those are 5 things.
Almost.
Those
yeah.
are those are your 5 things that you must do in order to have a successful day at Hollywood Studios and Walt Disney World. Establish those as a family from the beginning.
Sorry, I was going to interrupt you. I was going to say, too, that I think a lot of times people forget that all of it can't be done, or none of it has to be done in one day. If you have a park hopper option, or you're there for multiple days, you can spread those out if you want to, or we're able to with adding on a park hopper to go back later, or so just because they're your 5 doesn't mean you have to do it in one day, but it's the 5 things you want to do by the end of the trip at that park.
Well, and the 5 things that you want to do in that day. Your 5 things in that day don't all have to be at the same park.
Right.
You could say, I'm going to the California Adventure for dinner. We're going to ride Space Mountain. We're going to ride Peter Pan. And then after dinner, we're going to go over to Epcot and we're going to ride Soarin' and Remy's Ratatouille Adventure. Those are the 5 must-dos that we have in that day.
In the day.
Each day, pick your 5 must-dos.
Yeah.
And establish those as a family, as a group. That way, and make sure that everybody has input. Right? It's not just what dad wants. It's not just what cousin wants. It's not just what whatever.
Yep.
Everybody in the family coming together, agreeing on those 5 must-do things for each day of your trip. Once you establish those, then make a list of your nice-to-dos. Mm-hmm. Because chances are your 5 must-dos is not going to take up the whole day. Probably not even close. So then, as a family, establish your nice-to-dos.
Those are what we call, like, the fillers.
Exactly.
Right? So, like, in between your must-dos, if we can throw in something from the list of nice to do, if a lightning lane is available, or there's a reservation available, or you're just like, oh, we'll just go get that snack now since we're over in this part of Magic Kingdom. Like, then we can kind of...
Never underestimate the value of snacks, ladies and gentlemen.
Snacks are amazing. And it's such a money saver, and we can talk so much about...
We have a lot of episodes coming. We have a lot of things to talk about.
There's just too much. So you got me talking about thinking about snacks, and now I just lost my
She can't get her mind off of Mickey shaped ice cream.
things.
You know,
Just all kinds of Mickey shaped
waffles,
things.
your Mickey premium bars.
Yeah, and all of it.
All of it.
Getting a snack, the fillers, like having those times. Then you can, add in the little things that you were like, oh, these are nice, but they're not your main focus. Right. So you can feel like you're not just wasting time in between things either, and you're still making the most bang for your buck. You're still getting things in there that you want. And then the most important thing, even more important than your must-dos, are going to be the things that you really just don't want or care about doing. And that's like the first list you should come up with if we're not doing it. You're not into Star Wars? Hey, that's fine. You never want to see it. I mean, I think everybody should give it a chance. You should experience it. But if you're like, nope, we're not into it, then you can just cross it
The
off.
Force is not strong with this one.
No, it's strong with me.
I wasn't saying you. I was saying someone who didn't care about Star Wars. The Force is not strong with this one.
They're on the dark side.
It can make it so much more manageable by crossing things off your list. I was just reading something the other day that said when you make a list of things to do, you should always make a list the first thing on your list.
Yep.
That way, once you're done, you can go right back up and you're already crossing something off.
Makes
By
you feel
crossing
accomplished.
things off your list, it makes you feel accomplished, and it helps to diminish the pressure that you're putting on yourself.
Yeah.
That list of 100 plus attractions is daunting.
Yeah.
If you can cut that list down to a more manageable number because you really don't care about Indiana Jones Stunt Spectacular, which I think you should because it's an awesome show.
But it does take
But
up
it's
a
also
chunk
the
of time.
longest show in Walt Disney World.
Yeah,
It's
it takes
35 minutes
so,
long.
you
So that
Yeah.
is something to consider, right? So cutting those things out that you're not so focused on. If you know you're adults going without kids and you don't care about characters, don't stand in line to meet Mickey. I know that's kind of heresy for some folks, but don't stand in line
It's
to
his
get a
house.
picture. It
You
is
should
Mickey's
meet him.
house. You probably should meet him. I know that can be heresy, but don't waste your time standing in a line for Mickey Mouse if
Yeah.
that's something that you don't really value. Or if
Yep.
you know you're going with kids and they may not be into rides, don't bother with roller coasters. And if they really love characters, prioritize that.
Yeah.
It's all about knowing your family and what your family enjoys doing together and prioritizing those
Like an
things.
example for me, I mean, we've gone more times than I can count, really, right now. And I know off the bat, maybe now that because we do have, a child, I will be more open to it. But I'm never going on the teacups. I will never, it's never even on my radar. I will never do it. Or the Speedway.
More and more now,
I
things like
won't
that
do
are
it.
making me sick. So I probably,
I just know I'm not
if
going to do
Luke
it.
wants to do it, though, we will do it.
Well-
if our son wants to do it.
Do
But
it reluctantly, but we will still do it. But
that's right.
that's what we mean about things that, it's just not, I'm not into it. You're not into princesses. You're not into, you're traveling with a group of teenage boys or something, and they're really more into the Star Wars thing and Avengers and, all that stuff, then okay, we can focus on that stuff. Or if, they are into princesses or you have a mixed group from family, we can make time for both. So every personality can have their time. And then I feel like it's mostly siblings that I feel like you have to deal with. Like, oh, I have to do all this baby stuff because, my little sister wants to do it and I don't want to do it. But a great tip that we can get into, again, I think, wow, there's just so much stuff, would be like rider swap, things like rider swap. And there's so many ways that you can make it work that there's like really no need to panic or stress about it.
Exactly.
You'll be fine. You'll have fun.
And by taking those steps at first to plan some of that out, you're going to set yourself up for success and set everyone up for success. And never forget that you are on vacation and that it's okay to take a break.
Yeah.
You don't have to go to the park from rope drop to the final close. You don't have to be there all day long. Customize your trip according to how your family is.
Yeah. And that's pretty much what I do. Like, that's my job. So when a lot of people don't know too that when you purchase a Disney trip on your own, you go on My Disney Experience and you can buy everything yourself, right? Well, you're already paying a travel agent like me in the fees, but you don't know about me or like, that service, but it is free to you.
Right.
Because you're already paying for it in the fees.
Right.
So
why not use that?
Why not use it? And it will just help you take even more stress off of you. You don't have to get up wicked early and call for the dining reservations and make sure your lightning lanes are done. And I just ask my clients general questions like we've been saying. What are you into? What are your interests? What are our thrill levels? And then from there, I kind of give you the list of there's a whole list that you can research on your own, which I recommend. But here are my suggestions based on your responses to me. Right. So it's customized to you.
Let someone else who you're not paying do all that hard work for you.
Yeah.
Right? And get you set up for a successful trip. Especially if that is your one trip that you're going to make, right? Yeah. With your family. You want that to be not just enjoyable for the kids, but you want that to be enjoyable for everybody. And I think if you have a good time and you play your cards right and you don't burn everybody out, you may be more likely in the future, if you have the money, if you have, obviously a lot of things play into that, but you may be a lot more likely to want to prioritize going on another Disney vacation with your family in the future. Yeah. Because you've had a more enjoyable experience.
You didn't have that negative experience, because I feel like the people that I do know that have gone one time have just been like, oh, how can you go all the time? It's so hot and the lines are so long and they're like, and all these negative things. And I'm like,
and I usually look at people like that and say, well, we don't really wait in lines. And they look at you like awestruck, like, of how do you not wait in lines? Well, there are ways, which again, having, a travel agent like Rachel, or just going a lot, or just planning the right way.
Or just like listening to podcasts like this and getting some knowledge under your belt and just researching into it a little bit. Disney has evolved from a let's just go to the park for a day into you have to plan it. It's not a we're just gonna wing it. You could wing it. I don't recommend it, but
you probably could, but you're gonna inflict more stress on yourselves. Right. Whereas you don't have to have a minute by minute itinerary like you see some people. There are crazy people out there, folks, who literally have it planned out by the second. Bathroom breaks. We do not advise that either.
No, that's
not what we're advocating for. I don't think that may work for some people. By and large, I don't think that works for everybody, though.
A general skeleton,
right,
of the trip,
of your priorities, the things that you have to do to make this trip successful, and come in with that reality of you're not going to do everything.
Yeah.
You're just not.
Just accept it.
Mm-hmm. And that, if you are just going on a one and done trip, that I think will make that trip that much more enjoyable for everybody, and everybody can have that magical Disney experience that I hope everybody has when they visit Walt Disney World in Orlando, Florida.
It's possible.
It is possible.
It's possible either way.
And it's also possible that it is time for us to move into our final segment of our show, Would You Rather?
Would you rather?
So, Rachel, take it away.
All right. So, Mark. Mm-hmm. And people out there, too. We want to know what you would pick if you know these options.
We don't really care, but we do.
I care. I want to know what people would pick. I'm interested to see, if they're on my side or your side.
Yeah, that'd be great.
Yeah.
Love it.
So, would you rather do Spaceship Earth or Pirates of the Caribbean?
Wow. That's a tough one. Both are classics.
Yeah.
One definitely more of a classic, I would argue, than another.
Yeah.
We all know how I feel about Pirates of the Caribbean if you listen to the first episode, so I'll spare you.
I actually didn't think of that when I was picking these kind of ahead of time.
I am going to pick Pirates of the Caribbean. I love Spaceship Earth. I love our journey through time, about communication and traveling up into the ball that is Spaceship Earth. I think that is such a cool ride and such a cool feature.
And that's funny because it's about history.
But it is about history. But I just think, to get back to what I was talking about last week, I think Pirates is just that quintessential Disney ride that's just perfect for everybody in the family to go and enjoy. It's got that snazzy song.
Snazzy song.
Yo ho, a pirate's life for me. You got the thrills. You got the excitement of being engulfed in a pirate raiding of a village. Again, kind of horrific when you think about it, and they're burning the village down. But it's something that really plays with your imagination, and we cannot ever overlook the smell of riding Pirates of the Caribbean.
And the water.
That beautiful water smell. That
Florida
bromine, Florida swamp
chlorinated water.
It's glorious. There's something about that smell.
You said smell. I thought you were going to... I was like, I know an iconic smell. And that's Rome burning.
Well, it's not really Rome burning. It's the Library of Alexandria burning a lot of times.
But it's called Rome burning.
It is. That's what most people refer to it as, but they're wrong.
I'm sorry.
It's the burning of the library in Alexandria. But anyways, I would pick Pirates. What would you pick?
I'm going to have to thank the Phoenicians and go with Spaceship Earth. It's one of my at least top 5 probably rides for me.
Rachel does have a hat that says thank.
If you can read
this, thank the Phoenicians.
Thank the Phoenicians.
It is a great hat, and if you do not understand that reference, you need to get yourself to Epcot and ride Spaceship Earth. And I'm not going to explain it to you because you have to ride the ride.
Yeah, you can't explain it. It has to be experienced.
It does have to be experienced.
And I just, for me, Pirates is definitely that smell and that nostalgia, and I do like the story of Pirates, but I just think that Spaceship Earth, again, this is a personal thing, and most of these Would You Rathers are going to be pretty personal. When I started going to Disney again, it was one of the rides that I don't even think I went on when I was little, because I was like, they probably thought like, it's going to be boring. It's going to be boring. It wasn't. I don't know if I would have liked it as a kid, honestly. I don't know if I would have liked it as much, but as an adult, it's AC'd. Wonderful. Sit down, slow moving. Anybody can ride it, so accessibility is there.
My mother rides it. That's
even your non-ride people are gonna ride it, so it is a whole family ride. And I like the story of communication. I like all the animatronics. I think they're really, really cool. I like all of the hidden Mickeys that are thrown throughout there to find, and I just think it's very relaxing, and it's kind of just peaceful for me, and I don't have to really think while I'm on it. It just the story is just unfolding in front of you. So, and you have the cool little thing at the end where you get to pick your own future with your face on it.
Usually not a great picture of your face, but hey.
So that's always kind of fun.
We can debate whether any picture of my face is a great picture of my face. But anyways, that was a tough one, and I think that a lot of these are going to be difficult for us to work through. But I do appreciate your answer, but I do have to go with Pirates.
I understand.
Well, this has been quite the episode. Time has really flown by for this one. As it will fly by on your magical vacation. It always seems like they fly by a little bit too fast, which is why we all want to always go back, because they go by so fast when you're actually there.
Yep.
But much like all good things, we are going to have to see you real soon, because we are reaching the end of our podcast episode today.
But don't worry, we'll be back.
We will be back. We will be back with more fun and exciting episodes to come. A lot of interesting things to talk about. We're going to be going on a trip very soon. We are extremely excited. So be on the lookout for an episode talking about what we're packing with our infant and what ends up working and doesn't work
and just,
on
I guess, the
trip.
overall experience of being with an infant.
Yeah, so there'll be a series of episodes on that and a whole lot more episodes on a whole bunch of things. We already have a list of over 100 potential ideas.
It's overwhelming.
It is.
But we'll prioritize.
We will prioritize, as our advice has indicated.
Yes, we will prioritize.
As always, be sure to check us out on our social media accounts, Instagram and Facebook. And if you have any ideas for future episodes or want to just reach out to us, feel free to send us an email at eventually, folks, I will get this right. startswithawish.podcast@gmail.com.
It is kind of a mouthful.
It is kind of a mouthful, but it's nice. And eventually I will remember how to say it.
Yeah.
With that, though, folks, I want you to all remember that it does all start with a wish. And we will see you next time.
Bye.